it could be that it's a stranger attack and the child doesn't know who it is, and that the identity of the perpetrator can't be ascertained. It could be as a vulnerability of the child. It means that CPS are not convinced that it's going to stand up in a court. It could be, as I've said already, that the child has discussed this with a third party, and therefore the veracity, the clarity of that memory is being brought into question, because maybe an adult has interfered, maybe an adult has suggested something could have happened, and that could be a barrier. I'm not saying that that's always the case, but it could be, depending on whether or not someone feels that a child has been coached, for example. So there could be any number of things, but usually it would be, or it could be that the perpetrator, there's a reason why that person can't stand trial. Maybe it's a very old person or somebody, and the system, this is not a police decision by the way, but the system rules that person can't stand trial because they're not fit to stand trial for whatever reason. I've had a couple of examples of that, not through my policing role, but through another role when I was a chief exec of a mental health charity. So it could be a very wide-ranging set of reasons, and it could be a combination of many. Currently, the police cannot charge a whole range of offences without getting permission from the national, it's the local CPS, but the decision making, the policy making has been made at a national CPS level. So, today you might think that person committed an offence yesterday, they shouldn't be out on the street. But the reason that person will be out in the street is because CPS have not given permission to charge that person. And often the route to charging that person is very long and very arduous, and the police have to complete a huge case file, and as though they were going to go to court, before the Crown Prosecution will give permission for that to go to, for that charge to be brought, and for that then to go to court. So there's a whole load of stuff, and of course in that intervening period, the victim or the witnesses have got fed up and withdrawn their support, and that therefore can lead to even more failures of the system. One of the reasons I didn't report my rape was for exactly this reason: A, because victims don't think they'll be believed, and even if you do manage to get engagement from the police and you move through the process is so painful, so dehumanising, that many victims choose to give up. Or not bother entering the system in the first place. And there's huge numbers of factors contributing to the huge weight. So COVID has had a massive impact. So all the courts were closed, so there's now a huge backlog. And yes, we've got the court system working flat out now, and they've got these additional courts that are opening on weekends and out of hours in order to catch up and do the backlog. It's still an enormous waiting list. I think we're over a year behind, and that's not acceptable, because obviously victims and vulnerable witnesses are bearing the brunt of that. A child will report, obviously the police will be called, but there'll be an immediate safeguarding wraparound support placed around that child and around the family. So there'll be investigation. It depends on who the perpetrator is alleged to be. If it's obviously a member of that family, then there'll be steps taken to protect the child within the family. That maybe that family member has to leave the household, but the child will get a whole package of support. Victim support will be involved, while the contracted support agency, but social services will be, children's social services will have a whole range of support mechanisms in place. That child might be removed and put into foster care, but also they will have an assigned person, a liaison person from the police that will tell them what the process is and what's happening, depending on the age of the child. Because clearly, if the child is 3, there's not a lot of value to that child in having an adult liaison person explaining the process. But if that child is 10, then that would be something that's really valuable. And then obviously that person, that liaison person, is for the whole family, depending on the circumstances.